woke up to find Gulf nestled in his arms, his face buried in Mew's chest. Only Gulf's hair was visible, the rest of his body hidden under the covers. Mew smiled, remembering the events of the previous night. The way Gulf's words and actions had made his heart race. He gently ran his fingers through Gulf's hair, his smile widening. "Gulf," Mew whispered, his voice husky with emotion. "You know how happy I am right now, knowing that it's not just me who loves you, but you love me too. I'm so happy. I almost forgot how to hurt you again. Forgive me, I still have secrets from you, but I promise, when the time is right, I'll tell you everything. Right now, all I want is to marry you." Mew's words were a soft murmur against Gulf's ear, who was still fast asleep. He kissed Gulf's lips, cheeks, and forehead, his love overflowing. "You know, when I wake up and you're still here with me like this, I imagine us in the future, us married, with a child. I can't wait to take our son to school, work to provide for you, and come home to your warm welcome. That's my dream, to do all that with you, just like ordinary people. I hope you can accept me, Gulf. Even after I've hurt you, betrayed you, lied to you, I still hope you can accept me." Mew took a deep breath and continued to shower Gulf's face with kisses. "Don't be afraid. Thea is just my past and you are my present, my future. I won't turn away from you. Gulf, you're the only one who has ever made me love a man. I'm happy about that. Even though there will be many obstacles to overcome, I don't care. I'll fight anyone who tries to take you from me, because now I'm so happy to have someone to cherish and protect. About Alicia, I can't tell you everything, but the bottom line is, if I'm still married to her, I'll divorce her and marry you. I know it's unfair to you, but I don't want to lose you. Just seeing another man or woman interested in you makes me jealous. I almost killed my own friend because he dared to like you. I'm so scared, truly scared of losing you. I don't want that to happen. So please, just trust me and I promise you won't regret this decision." And now about the girl who looks like Thea. I know there's a girl who looks like her, but when I saw you, my heart was more drawn to you. So don't be afraid. Babe, you're number one for me now, and there's no one who can replace you. You want to know where I met her? I met her when I was being harassed, trapped by those shitty cops. I saw her, and I was really surprised. My heart wanted to waver again towards her, but your face wouldn't let me turn away from you. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it. I hope you can hear me. Gulf, why would I kidnap you if I still had feelings for Thea? Listen carefully. If I liked that girl, maybe I'd be cuddling with her now and not with you. So, is my explanation clear? Now about a girl and a little kid that I'm hiding in the basement. I know this doesn't make sense to you, but I can't tell you everything. I can't explain this question. I'm still afraid you'll turn away from me, so I hope you can be patient, and when the time is right, I'll explain what happened to you myself. If you ask why Kevin told you to stay away from me, maybe it's because he knows everything, but to protect you, he wouldn't dare tell you. If you hear this, I'm sure you'll think I'm a bad person. I don't mind if you think that, but you should also know I'm doing all this for you and for Kevin, so that the three of us can live together until our last breath. So I hope you don't pressure Kevin to tell you what he heard. Gulf, one more thing I have to tell you. I'm yours. I like you, I love you, and I love you. That's why I can't let you go. So as long as I belong to you, there will be absolutely no intention of leaving you, even if I'm no longer yours. I still have another reason for you not to turn away from me. Mew couldn't resist the sight of Gulf's sleeping face, so he gently licked Gulf's lips, savoring every scar on the edge of his lips. Then he returned to lick Gulf's tongue and took his saliva. A few minutes after kissing Gulf's lips, Mew nuzzled his face against Gulf's neck. He gently bit Gulf's neck again, creating a larger purple kiss mark. Mew intended to leave his mark on Gulf's neck, and he did. He made his mark on the right side of Gulf's neck. Unable to bear the pain of being bitten roughly by Mew, Gulf involuntarily cried out, startled. His eyes were still closed, and Mew thought that maybe Gulf was just surprised because Mew had made his mark on Gulf's neck, until Gulf almost woke up from his sleep. Mew gently stroked Gulf's buttocks and arms, trying to lull him back to sleep. Once he was sure Gulf was asleep again, Mew carefully released his embrace and got out of bed. He made sure to cover Gulf's naked body with a blanket again. Then Mew went to the bathroom to wash up. A few dozen minutes later, he was done showering and changed into his clothes. He looked back at Gulf, still sound asleep, and walked over to him, kissing his forehead before leaving the room. Before leaving, Mew had prepared a glass of water with his blood, vampire food, white clothes, perfume, ointment, medicine, a flash drive recording what happened last night, and a laptop to open the flash drive. Since Mew wasn't sure if he could come back quickly to check on Gulf, that's why he prepared all of Gulf's needs for a day. He also locked the door to his room so Gulf wouldn't try to escape. Now Gulf was left alone again by Mew. Mew had finished answering all of Gulf's questions, although he wasn't sure if Gulf had heard everything he said. During his leave, Bourne was still working overtime to investigate the background of Mew's wife and the whereabouts of Aliovic, the child of the couple. Bourne stared intently at his laptop, occasionally sipping his cold coffee. He had already finished 6 cups of coffee to keep himself awake. He hadn't slept since last night. He was too excited to reveal the truth about Mew's family. Suddenly, his phone rang. Mean, what? Where are you? At home. What's up? I know where Bright's child is. Where are you now? Don't come here. I'm at the office. I'll come to your house. Okay, I'll wait. After hanging up with Mean, Bourne quickly cleaned up his house, which looked like a shipwreck. There was too much food and beer cans scattered on the floor. He also took a shower because he hadn't showered since he took his leave yesterday. When he felt that there was no one else in his room, Gulf opened one eye to peek at the state of his room, which looked very messy. Gulf immediately tried to sit up when he saw how messy his room was. It was full of thick liquid spilled on the floor. Unfortunately, as Gulf tried to sit up, a sharp pain shot through his bottom. His head was spinning too, and he grabbed his head, which felt like it was swaying back and forth. His stomach also felt very sick, like there was something he needed to get out. Gulf tried to slide his body until he reached the edge of the bed, then slowly lowered his legs until they touched the ground. As he tried to get up, his body swayed, and he almost fell if he hadn't grabbed the wall beside him. "Oh, is there anyone who wants to help me?" he muttered, unable to bear the throbbing in his head. Gulf sat back on the bed and saw medicine and ointment on the nearby drawer. He took the oblong-shaped pill, and after reading the label, he took a glass of water beside him. He took the pill, which looked like candy, and swallowed it with the water. The pill didn't taste bitter at all, but it eased the pain in his stomach. But the headache still hammered at his head. Gulf accidentally dropped a piece of paper as he tried to put the glass back in its place. He picked up the fallen paper and read the contents. Golf, I know your stomach and head must be hurting and dizzy, right? Drink and eat the blood and meat I've prepared beside your bed. There's also ointment to heal your bottom. Sorry I left without saying goodbye. I have something to take care of. Wait for me tonight. I'll be home soon. And don't forget to clean yourself. I've prepared warm water, and you can reheat it. I've also prepared clothes for you. I hope you follow my instructions. Take care of yourself, babe. From your future husband, Mew Suppasit. He didn't know whether he was feeling angry or smitten, but the most important thing was that his heart was truly happy, even though his ego tried to make him angry. Golf kept rereading the letter from Mew, smiling to himself. A few minutes later, he came to his senses and threw the paper away. He quickly shook his head. No, Golf, you can't be influenced by that letter. Focus on finding a way to get Kevin out of this house, he said to himself. Then he took the meat on the large plate and started eating it slowly, while drinking Mew's fresh blood. He couldn't deny the hunger in his stomach, especially since every time he finished drinking and eating Mew's blood and vampire meat, his body felt energized, and the headache had disappeared. There was only one piece of meat left, and Golf couldn't force himself to finish it. He put the plate back on the tray. Then he tried to get up, and since the headache had gone, he quickly grabbed the ointment and went into the bathroom to clean himself. While bathing, Golf kept trying to remember what happened last night. He wondered if Mew had raped him again. But how is that possible? Golf doesn't remember anything from last night. This is what you need to know. Golf actually woke up before Mew did. Flashback. 10 minutes before Mew opened his eyes, Golf had already been looking at him. Golf's ego kept telling him to kick Mew's body off of him, but his mind was different. Golf wanted to keep looking at Mew's face, which looked so handsome while he was asleep, making him fight back against his ego's whispers. It would be a shame to miss Mew's face, which he rarely saw. Golf reflexively moved his hand to gently stroke Mew's cheek. But Mew woke up and Golf quickly closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. From then on, Golf heard everything Mew said to him, even though Golf didn't understand what Mew meant by his words. His heart couldn't help but scream because he was really smitten with what Mew said. Golf even thought, weren't Mew's words the answer to his inner whispers? But how did Mew know? How could Mew know about all the questions? He should have asked, but were still being held back by his ego? Flashback end. That's what kept Golf thinking hard. Even while showering, he was still thinking about that question. After almost an hour after Golf finished showering, he was surprised again by the sight of his room. The floor, which had been so dirty, and the remnants of Golf's food lying on the drawer, were now completely clean. There was no liquid spilled on the floor of his room, and even the leftovers had disappeared. Now his room was really clean and tidy. The bed sheets had been changed, and the curtains, which had been closed, were now open, letting sunlight into his room. Golf muttered, "Did someone come in here while I was showering? But how could they clean it so fast? This is really cool. I don't have to bother cleaning up the mess." After a few minutes of being flattered by the cleanliness of his room, Golf quickly put on his clothes. Then, as he was about to sit on the sofa, he accidentally saw a flash drive and a laptop. Golf walked towards the table and sat down on the chair. He started plugging the flash drive into the laptop and opening the laptop to see what was on the flash drive. Soon, Golf found a video recording that was almost 2 hours long. There were 2 videos and Golf opened the one labeled My Baby first. And you know, what was Golf's reaction when he saw the flash drive recording that showed him drunk, saying things that were so absurd to him? Damn, he tricked me? How could I fall for him? He even got me drunk like this. Is he crazy-ish? I can't tell him everything. This must be a dream. Golf pinched his own arm to prove what he was saying. Golf cried out in pain. No, no, no. I'm so embarrassed. Golf bit his own lip, covering his face with his hand so he couldn't see what was recorded on the flash drive. But he couldn't avoid the sound on the flash drive. Ag. This is crazy. So crazy. Golf, feeling ashamed of seeing himself on the flash drive recording, jumped up and down on the sofa, whining in disbelief that he had said such things. But a few minutes later, Golf crouched down and looked at the flash drive recording again. Ag, Golf, why are you so stupid? How could you fall for it? I'm embarrassed. I'm really so embarrassed. Golf hit his own head and cursed at himself. After finishing watching the first flash drive recording and feeling ashamed of himself, he opened the second flash drive recording, titled Maybe 2. The flash drive recording showed Mew raping him, lasting only 15 minutes. Maybe Mew had deliberately cut the duration of the video. Golf bit his own lip again when he saw how brutally Mew was raping him. He hadn't even finished watching the video when he closed the laptop because he couldn't stand to watch such a dirty video. Now Golf's face looked very panicked and ashamed. He was so embarrassed if he had to meet Mew later. He walked towards the mirror next to the door of his room and looked at himself in the mirror. Golf furrowed his brow, biting his lip. He was too surprised to see his condition. Golf's lips were swollen and his entire neck was blue and marked with kiss marks. He even saw the mark of Mew's bite, which indicated that Golf was now under his supervision. Because he had been looking at himself in the mirror for too long, Golf became even more embarrassed. He turned around and walked back and forth. He didn't know why he couldn't control his embarrassment. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, making Golf stare intently at the door. He was afraid it was Mew. Golf wasn't ready to meet Mew now. Knock, knock. Golf remained silent, slowly stepping back. Golf is inside. Golf breathed a sigh of relief when he heard the voice of an elderly woman outside his room. Ajuma, please open the door. An elderly woman, about 80 years old, appeared, but it was unclear if she was also a vampire. Golf remained silent, staring at the elderly woman with a confused expression. What's wrong? Don't just call me Mom, just call me Ajuma. Golf nodded slowly. What are you doing here? Ajuma, well, Mr. Bright told me to take Denwin to meet Mr. Young. Mr. Young? Do you mean Kevin? Ah, yes. Shortly after that, Golf followed Ajuma's directions until he arrived in a room upstairs. Ajuma opened the door and invited Golf to enter the room. Golf was still confused. He walked slowly into the room until he saw Kevin sitting on the bed near the window. Ajuma closed the door again after Golf entered. Golf slowly walked towards Kevin and hugged him from behind. Daddy! Kevin, who was so happy to see Golf, immediately hugged him tightly. Daddy! Why did you take so long to come here? He protested, still in Golf's arms. I'm sorry. Daddy? The important thing is that I'm here now. Kevin released his hug and put both arms around Golf's neck. Okay, Kevin will forgive Daddy after Daddy kisses Kevin's lips. Golf was shocked to hear Kevin's request. which was so strange to him. Just kiss the cheek, okay? No, I want the lips, Kevin grumbled. Why? Daddy doesn't want to. Daddy wants to be kissed by that uncle, but you don't want to be kissed by your own child. Gulf was speechless, biting his lip. He thought, why is Kevin like this? How could Kevin's thoughts go that far? Kevin, Daddy never taught you to be like this. Who told you that? Gulf said firmly. He didn't want his son to change like this. Kevin remained silent, staring angrily at Gulf. Daddy doesn't like you like this. Daddy, if you don't wanna, just say so. Don't get angry, Kevin retorted, releasing his grip on Gulf's hand and turning his back to Gulf to stare out the window. That's not what Daddy meant. Kevin, Daddy just wants to know who dared to say that to you. Gulf tried to hold Kevin's wrist, but Kevin pushed him away. Kevin wants to rest. Just go out, he said, then immediately covered himself with a blanket and fell asleep. Turning his back to Gulf, Gulf sighed softly, then patted Kevin's shoulder. Are you sure? Kevin doesn't want to meet Daddy? He coaxed again. Daddy's annoying Kevin. Kevin's tired of Daddy, he said from under the blanket. Kevin, don't be angry with Daddy. Daddy's sorry. Okay, Kevin already said. Kevin will forgive Daddy if Daddy kisses Kevin's lips. Besides, it's just the lips. What's so hard about that? He retorted again. Kevin already said. Kevin will forgive Daddy if Daddy kisses Kevin's lips. Besides, it's just the lips. What's so hard about that? Kevin, listen to Daddy. It's not that Daddy doesn't want to, but Kevin is Daddy's own child. Daddy's only child. You can't kiss lips like that, but Daddy can kiss lips with that uncle. I told you. Daddy, don't get close to that uncle. He's bad. He's not a good person. Why won't Daddy listen to Kevin? It's not like that, honey. Dad. Kevin sat up from his sleep and stared intently at Gulf's face. Kevin knows Daddy's hiding something behind Kevin, right? What do you mean, Kevin? Daddy's not hiding anything. Then, where's Kevin's mama? He retorted again, leaving Gulf speechless. Daddy's just silent, isn't he? Daddy can't answer Kevin's question, can he? Kevin knows, but Kevin already knows everything. Gulf's heart beat faster. He was really afraid of what Kevin meant by his words. Daddy gave birth to Kevin, right? And Kevin's mama is Daddy, right? Honey, you... Daddle, Kevin retorted, getting more annoyed. Why did Daddy lie? Why did Daddy have to lie to Kevin for almost 8 years? Why did Daddy lie? Kevin, listen to Daddy. Daddy has a reason. Because Daddy's ashamed, right? Daddy's a man and Daddy can get pregnant, so Daddy lied to Kevin. Gulf was speechless, unable to answer Kevin's question. Dad, if that's the only reason, Daddy shouldn't have lied. Why lie? Kevin doesn't mind. If Daddy gave birth to Kevin, Kevin doesn't mind at all. Kevin's grown up. Dad, Kevin can also tell the difference between Daddy's honest talk and lies. It's very different. Kevin hugged Gulf tightly again. He couldn't bear to see his father silent with a face full of confusion and panic. Kevin also knows. Daddy often cries alone when Daddy's not near. Kevin, Daddy also keeps waiting for the person who left Daddy. Kevin knows that. And that person is the bad uncle, Dad? He's the one who made Daddy like this. Gulf's eyes welled up. He didn't expect his son's way of thinking to be so mature now. Forgive Daddy. Daddy doesn't have to apologize. Kevin retorted after releasing his hug. Daddy's not wrong. He's wrong. That crazy uncle. Kevin, Gulf shouted when Kevin dared to curse Mew. Kevin was silent, shocked to hear the shout from Gulf's mouth, which he had never heard before. Daddy yelled at Kevin, said Kevin, who was now starting to cry. He was too scared to hear Gulf shout. No, it's not like that. Gulf tried to grab Kevin's wrist, but Kevin pushed him away again. Since the beginning, Daddy has never yelled at Kevin, but just because of him, Daddy dares to yell at Kevin, he retorted. Now Kevin was starting to cry. No. Kevin, listen first. Daddy, go out. Kevin wants to rest. Kevin doesn't want to meet Daddy, he said, after covering himself with the blanket again. Behind the commotion of the blanket, Kevin was trying to hold back his tears. Kevin, sorry. Kevin said go out. Daddy, go out. Kevin hates Daddy. Gulf didn't know why, but hearing the word hate from Kevin's mouth made his heart fragile. For years, Kevin had never said that word to him. Just because Gulf accidentally yelled at Kevin, Kevin's attitude towards him changed drastically. Kevin, Daddy, sorry. Forgive Daddy, Kevin. Kevin was indifferent, ignoring Gulf's apology. He was too heartbroken, remembering the sound of Gulf's shout at him. Cough, knock. Sorry, I'm interrupting. The big boss wants to meet Mr. Gulf said at Juma earlier. Gulf remained silent for a moment, staring at Kevin from behind the blanket. It felt heavy to leave Kevin in this state, but Gulf had no other choice. Alright, give me one more minute, Gulf said, and the Ajuma bowed before leaving Kevin's room. Kevin, Dad apologizes. Don't be mad at Dad, okay? It's not the reason why Dad lied to you. We'll meet again, alright? And Dad will tell you why he lied to Kevin. So forgive Dad, okay? Dad is leaving now. Gulf said this before leaving Kevin's room. Hearing the door close, Kevin turned towards the door and seeing no one in his room, he got out of bed and put his head on his knees and cried softly. Only muffled sobs could be heard. If no one had told Kevin about this, he might never have known what Gulf was hiding from him. Kevin's hatred for Mew grew stronger. He truly hated the vampire who was causing his father to be like this. Are you crazy? No, I don't agree with you going there. Mean, who was now at Boren's residence, told Boren everything he knew, where Mew's child was, and when Boren learned, he was about to go see Eliovic. Ran, I told you to stay so you wouldn't be busy searching for Eliovic. It's not like you're going there. It's very far from our territory. Send me the address, Boren interrupted, ignoring Mean's warnings and focusing on the laptop in front of him. No, I won't tell you again. Boren stared sharply at Mean, making him stop talking. Send it quickly, Boren. I said send it now. Boren shouted. I can't. Damn it. Boren stood up from his seat and grabbed Mean's collar. I'm begging you. Help me. You're the only one who can help me. So send the address to me now. Boren insisted. Mean remained silent, intensely staring into Boren's sharp eyes. And after a few minutes, Mean took his phone and sent the address of Eliovic's location to Boren. After that, Boren released Mean's collar and sat back down. Looking at the address Eliovic had sent earlier, Mean exhaled softly, then sat down in front of Boren. He continued to look intensely at Boren, who was too focused on his laptop. When are you going there? He asked. Now, Mean was startled. What? Are you crazy? You don't have to go now. Boren returned Min's gaze. I need to see him before his birthday. Then he went back to focusing on his laptop. Did you find anything? Boren remained silent, furrowing his brow. I already know who Miss Carla's friend was when she killed Miss Annie. So, what's the connection to Aliovic? They're all connected to the case of Miss Carla's death. I'm coming with you. Boren stared sharply at Min. No, I don't need. Then are you going there alone? His house is in the middle of the forest. You want to die eaten by wolves again, don't you? I want to come. I want to help you too. Your job. I'll take a 3-day leave. Boren glanced at Min for a moment, then stood up to grab his jacket and prepare some sharp weapons and firearms. Min did the same. After that, they left Boren's house and got into Boren's car. Boren started the car. How long will it take us to get there? Around 11 hours or more. If there's no traffic, it won't take 11 hours. Soon after, Boren drove the car at a moderate speed towards Aliovic's address. If he wasn't taking Min, he might have used high speed to get there as quickly as possible. Boren glanced briefly before focusing on the road ahead. What? He replied, while driving. You already know who Gulf's mom is, right? Yes, he replied casually. Who? Boren remained silent for a few minutes. Kevin doesn't have a mother. What do you mean? Get my laptop from the back, he said. After that, Min took Boren's laptop from the back seat and opened it immediately. But it turned out the laptop was locked. Password 1109. Min quickly entered the password Boren gave, and after it opened successfully, he was immediately presented with a long excerpt on the laptop. Min read the long excerpt, which read, August 25th, 1956. Kevin was born at the Valencourt dorm. No one knows who gave birth to Kevin. Only certain people know. Shania Twain is one of the caregivers who helped deliver Kevin. February 1956. Gulf's whereabouts were far from the Valencourt dorm, where Gulf was then living with a man, Mew Suppasit. Before Gulf left Genevieve Eve's house, there was a large explosion in the house. And since then, Gulf stayed at the Valencourt dorm and Mew's whereabouts were unknown to anyone. A year later, Mew was involved in a murder case, a drug dealer and narcotics. He was wandering around killing people. His way of killing, tearing people apart, taking their hearts and skin, and burying them in a grave already filled with the blood of the victim. Why did Mew take the victim's heart and skin? July 21st, 1956. Aliovic's date of birth. A few days later, a villager saw Alicia enter Alexandra's house with a white cloth covering her face. A few weeks later, it was reported that Alicia and Aliovic had disappeared. There was no report of the disappearance of the two. Even Alexander didn't care. August 27, 1956. A few days after Kevin was born, Alexander and Carla came to see Gulf. It wasn't a warm welcome that Gulf received. Gulf's parents said, "Just kill the baby. He's a disgrace to our family. He doesn't have a mother and you." One of the dorm students saw the incident. "He doesn't have a mother and you." Those words made me think that Gulf himself gave birth to Kevin, because a few days later, there were rumors inside the dorm where Kevin was the child of a forbidden love and the son of a gay man. A few years later, the rumors disappeared on their own, and I concluded that Gulf was the one who gave birth to Kevin, even though it's impossible. I still believe it. One more thing. Carla's friend's initials are V. He was the one who helped Carla kill Annie. A few weeks after Aliovic was born, A villager saw V carrying a baby and taking him to Jongchev's house. After that, a few days later, V left Jongchev's residence, and the next day, Jongchev's house was empty. It was no longer inhabited. Since then, strangeness began to cover up the lies of one of the suspects. Jongchev, V, Alexander, Carla, Alacia, cool, Mean praised after reading the excerpt that Boren had made. Did you make these notes? In one day he asked. A few months ago, I went to the dorm where Mew lived 7 years ago. Alex's house, Mr. Lee's house, the forest where I got lost, the house where V brought a baby. I went there and I only found that from the neighbors who lived in the area. Boren replied, so the key to all your questions is only with Aliovic. Yes, if I meet him and I talk to him, I'm sure I'll find all the answers that are very strange in our minds. I still don't believe that Gulf gave birth to Cavan, Mean muttered, which Boren could still hear. Boren just glanced briefly before focusing on driving again. They were about 10 hours away from their destination. In the silent room, only the sound of wind blowing from outside could be heard. The window. Now Gulf was sitting on the sofa. His mind was in turmoil. Gulf couldn't calm down when Cavan was angry with him like this. Suddenly, the door to Gulf's room opened. Gulf didn't turn around to look at Mew, who had just arrived. He continued to play with his fingers, repeatedly following his lips. Mew, feeling ignored, approached Gulf and held his waist and sat beside him. Gulf turned, staring sharply at Mew's presence. Gulf, what's wrong? Mew asked, not knowing what the sharp look in Gulf's eyes meant. Gulf remained silent. Gulf's eyes welled up, furrowed his brows and clenched his fists. Mew held Gulf's clenched fist. What happened? Tell me. Slap. A slap hit Mew's right cheek. After that, Gulf pushed Mew away from him. Gulf held his cheek that had been slapped. Gulf, why did you slap me? He tried to approach Gulf, but Gulf kept stepping back, still staring sharply at Mew. Did I do something wrong? Tell me what I did wrong. Don't ignore me like this. Gulf, please tell me. When Mew was about to grab Gulf's wrist, Gulf quickly threw it away. Gulf, I told you not to tell Cavan about your true self. Gulf yelled after Mew yelled at him. What? Gulf, listen to me. I don't understand what you mean at all. What about Cavan? Gulf snorted. CK, are you going to keep pretending like this? Listen to me. Let's talk about this properly. Don't avoid me like this. Mew kept trying to approach Gulf, but Gulf kept stepping back until Gulf's body hit the wall of his room. He tried to walk sideways, but Mew got there first, blocking his way. Mew put both his hands on the wall and cornered Gulf. Gulf, you're misunderstanding. I don't know anything at all. Get out. I said get away. Gulf insisted on pushing Mew's body but still failed. Tell me first. Why are you avoiding me like this? Did I do anything wrong by accident? What happened to Cavan? Gulf exhaled softly. Cavan, it must be you who told him that I was the one who gave birth to him. And you also told him that you're his dad and I. Why did you tell him? Gulf was upset. He couldn't hold back his tears and ended up crying while hitting Mew's chest. Mew held Gulf's waist and pushed him until he fell into his arms. Don't cry. Let's talk about this properly, okay? Let's go to Cavan's room. Now, Mew stroked Gulf's hair and Gulf cried in his arms. Don't, Gulf immediately said, while raising his head. He's mad at me. He probably doesn't want to see me. Alright, Gulf, don't cry. Stop crying. Golf shouldn't cry. Mew wiped away Golf's tears that were soaking his cheeks. Then Mew gently pulled Golf's waist to guide him to sit on the bed. Golf, listen to Mew's explanation first, okay? Don't interrupt Mew's conversation. Golf, can you do that for Mew? He coaxed. Golf was silent. He was no longer crying either. Now his feelings felt calmer every time Mew touched him. Mew just got home from Mew's friend's house, and earlier Juma said Kevin was yelling from his room. That's why Mew asked Golf to meet Mew here in our room. Mew doesn't know anything that happened, and it wasn't Mew who said that to Kevin. Mew also still hasn't been brave enough to be honest with Kevin without Golf's permission. Golf trusts. Golf was still silent. Now he lowered his head. Golf felt guilty for accusing Mew randomly. Golf, look at me. Mew gently raised Golf's head to make him look back at him. Don't be afraid. Golf, don't be afraid. Later, if Kevin is calmer now, let's talk about this. The three of us, he said, continuing to wipe Golf's still wet cheeks. But Kevin said he hates. Listen, Mew interrupted, gently untangling Golf's hair. Kevin's mind isn't stable yet. He's still too young. He's still caught up in his emotions because he knows the truth from someone else. That's why he said that. Now Mew wants to ask Golf. Golf has to answer honestly, okay? Golf nodded slowly. If Mew wants to propose to Golf, would Golf accept Mew's proposal? Golf was stunned. He remained silent. Mew smiled faintly, seeing Golf's surprised expression. Mew knows Golf must be thinking strange things. Golf. Does Golf know how long Mew has liked Golf? Golf remained silent, covering his own mouth. Would Golf listen to Mew's story for a while? Golf nodded after a few minutes of Mew asking him. Golf still remembers when Golf killed Prim, my younger brother. Golf was silent. He didn't dare look into Mew's eyes when Mew brought up Prim again. A week before Prim died, Prim said to me, brother, if I die for my lover, would you let me die for him? I quickly shook my head because I didn't want my younger brother to die for someone else. Then he told me everything that happened about his lover, and when I heard the reason why he wanted to die for his lover, which was you, I almost melted hearing your reason for becoming human. But when you had to kill Prim and you refused, I was truly convinced that you were a good person. The night after Prim told me that, I looked into who his lover was and his background. When I saw your face in the photo I found, for some reason your face reminded me of Thea Weil. Listen first. Don't interrupt my words. Mew interrupted when Golf was about to interrupt his words. Until one day before Prim died, he cried in my arms. He kept repeating the words sorry, sorry, and sorry. He also said, brother, please don't blame him. It wasn't him who forced me to kill myself, but me. Please, brother, don't blame him for my own decision. He's a good person. I love him so much that I'm willing to die for him. Hearing Prim say that while crying loudly made me feel sorry. I had no choice but to accept his departure because since he was a child, he had never asked for help from me like that. Mew lifted Golf's head again so that he would return his gaze. And on the day you stole his head, at that time I had the intention to kill, but when you cried loudly and said sorry repeatedly, it reminded me of Prim. Then I also saw you really couldn't bear to take the heart from Prim's body because you also had no other choice. You ate that heart. I saw everything. I know it's not your fault. I'm the one who lured you to come to my world, and I'm the one who sent you nightmares. until finally I succeeded in bringing you to my world. I'm really very happy because I've been holding back from kidnapping you for decades, and finally you came to my world yourself. Gulf widened his eyes. He furrowed his brow. Gulf was shocked to hear Mew's words. Sorry, because I also involved you in my family's problems, where I accidentally hurt your heart when you found out that I was making out with Alicia. I'm really sorry for my actions. I've wanted to explain all this to you for a long time, but you've never given me a chance to talk at length like this.